supposed to join the meeting right at the very beginning, or somewhere in the middle, or what?
That's fine. I just figured to invite you all as panelists instead of having you sit in attendee queue.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little behind here. I had my phone on the wrong way and it just rang and shut you off for 2 seconds. Is everybody on, Megan?
It looks like we're waiting for Bert and Barry.
Okay. Just wait a few minutes. See Wendy. Is Dawn on yet?
Dawn's
She's
not
supposed
on.
to be coming back. She should be getting on. Welcome, Seth.
Thank you.
Did you get sworn in, Seth? Did you get out of the town clerk's office yet, or is that too quick?
No, I did it.
You did already?
I went to the town clerk's office and was sworn in. Yes.
Beautiful. Good man. Thank you very much. Okay. Dave on yet, Megan?
Yep, Dave's here.
Okay, great.
Barry just got here too.
Great. Okay. So we have this Bird on yet? Bert usually is a little bit late. So we have myself, Mary, John, Dave, Barry. Is Joe on yet? There's Joe. And Wendy and Seth. We don't have Dawn and Bert, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. We'll wait. We'll start the meeting, Megan, and we'll just, tell me if they come on. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So thank you all for coming. We'll call the meeting, the Planning and Economic Development Commission to order. We'll be under the governor's new order. We can continue till March 23rd. Is that correct, Andrew? Is that the date? 2023?
March 31st.
March
31st. Oh, why did I say 23rd? Okay, very good. So before we start, we have a quorum. I'd like to have a moment of silence for Jack Gardner. We're going to be discussing a little bit about Jack in a minute, but I'd just like to have a moment of silence for Jack at this level. So. Thank you all. We'll have plenty of time to talk about Jack's service to the town and this commission and all the other things he's done. So with that said, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
All those in favor? Mary?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Wendy?
Aye.
Seth?
Aye.
Bert's not here yet, right? Megan?
Yep,
Okay.
not here.
Chair votes aye. Chair votes aye. Thank you. So Andrew and I have been talking about this, staff, and just all of us have a little bit. Town administration, possible ideas to recognize Jack's accomplishments, years of service. And after going to his funeral Saturday, boy, and I thought I knew a lot. There was a lot more to know after listening to his family and some of the other accomplishments and things that they had to say. And I've been back and forth with his son John for the last 3 weeks, and I've never even met him. And it was a really great moment for me to be able to communicate with him about his father, and hoping that he was going to make it back to Nantucket, but that didn't happen. So Andrew might have a few ideas to share, but we had discussed, and I think Andrew's been having some discussions with town administration about this, is have a sort of a continuous potential recognition of Jack over the next, number of years as things come up, projects, different things. And I think that that's the way to look at this. This isn't something about putting a bench on Main Street and that's the end of it. This is a little bigger than that. So would you like to elaborate on that, Andrew? Am I pretty much on target?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So we talked about, there are several bike path projects advancing, and along those bike paths, some of our former bike paths, we have areas set aside to recognize various people and their contributions. Another possibility, we've talked for some time, an area in the Mid-Island where we've been trying to create a small area near the Cape Cod 5 Bank that would be a park-like area, a seating area. So those are two ideas that, Jack has always been a big sponsor of our bike paths. Basically, the entire time I worked here, he was always supportive of that, and actually had worked hard on the planning board to get easements and other things in advance. And also the Mid-Island area, again, an area that needs some help and might be a good place to have some sort of a memorial, some reference to his work in planning. So those were two things that or a couple general concepts we've talked about.
Yeah, Mary, go ahead.
So I was thinking that the number of different ways that Jack served the community, it might be interesting to try and recognize each of those. For instance, if we do end up with a new DPW facility, perhaps a building carries his name, or if we end up doing something with bus transportation, perhaps that's appropriate. So I think you have a good point to just keep an eye out for opportunities over the next few years to recognize all of the different ways that he contributed to the island.
Yep, and that's exactly right, Mary. I think about what's done out in different places with Roger Young's little thing he's got out there on the bike path, and there's so much that can be done. It's really about just not forgetting him as things come up when we get older and other people take the reins of the town. We can't let them forget Jack Gardner, and I think that that's the message that we need to have with future leadership. I don't think any of us are going to forget, and the current leadership of the town certainly isn't, but you kind of tend to forget things over time. So anyone else have anything to share on Jack? You see his signature on that Canterbury Lane one was the best, Andrew. that popped up, 1973 approval. No one ever acted on those lots, and there's Jack Gardner's name, the only one left. And Donald, I believe, was on there as well. And that was like an eye opener to see that. Okay, moving on then, if no one else has anything to add to the minutes of May 16th and June 27th. Does anyone have any questions, errors, additions, omissions? Otherwise, I'll accept a motion to approve both sets.
Motion to approve, sir.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Mary?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Sorry, Dave. Barry?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Wendy?
Aye.
And Seth? You can go ahead and vote if you want, but you weren't here. It's
I'll
up to you. Abstain, okay. Thank you. And the chair votes aye. You hear any noises in the background? I'm fine. My house is full. That's why I'm in my son's room. I've run out of space. So thank you. I'm trying to keep it quiet. So moving on to public comment for anything that's not on the agenda. Not going to be taking public comment beyond this. So does anyone have anything? Any hands up? Megan?
Just
Now
as a
that I
point
have-
of, just as a point of order, I'm realizing right now as I'm looking at the agenda, I
I
would
know what
just
you're gonna,
suggest
I know
we
what you're
might
gonna say.
move Seth before
I know.
the at-large
Yeah.
appointment so that he could participate in that vote.
I already texted Andrew about that, and Seth is good to vote. And I thought, okay, if anyone wants to make a motion to move B to A and A to B, I'll
So
accept that
moved.
motion.
Excuse
moved.
me, Mr.
Second,
Chair.
is there a second?
Second.
Second, Barry? Sorry, I
sir.
missed that other person. All
Now,
those in
you might
favor,
want some
Mary?
discussion before we vote. Seth had a question.
Yeah, excuse me.
Oh, sorry, Seth, go ahead.
I am fine if you want to move the order of the agenda, but I will actually be recusing from the at-large appointments anyways due to a conflict of interest with one of the candidates.
Okay. All right, well, we'll move you anyway. Is that okay with you, Seth?
Sure.
Okay, you keep moving on the screen there. There you are. Okay. So all those in favor, Mary,
Aye.
John? Dave,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye. Welcome, Seth.
Wendy,
Aye.
and Seth. Yeah, Seth can vote for that, right? Yes, okay.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Is Berta Dawn on yet, Megan?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, now I'll accept the motion to accept Seth Engelberg. Am I saying your name right?
Yes.
Okay. To the Planning Commission for this year from the Concom.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay, seconded by Barry, motion by Mary. All those in favor, Mary,
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Seth.
Aye.
Thank you, Seth, and welcome, Seth.
Thank you, everybody.
Gotta get-
Thanks for having
Gotta
me.
get your contact information. So up next is the at-large appointment. We have John Kitchener, we have Christy Ferrantella, and we have Emmy Kilbert.
And Mr. Chair, I'd like to recuse, please.
Yep, that's fine. Thank you. So I'll give each one an opportunity to speak for a couple minutes. And we will be voting by email to Megan, similar to what the select board does. And so, John, how are you? Since you're first on the list.
Okay.
Welcome for
everyone.
your second meeting in a row.
This is true. Thank you. Well, we have a couple of minutes then. Let me just jump in. I did send to Andrew over the weekend a follow-up to my original letter, only that it's been a few years since I actually applied for a job. So I think I focused too much on who I was and not enough on what I thought I could bring. So I don't know, Andrew, I don't know whether you had a chance to circulate that, but anyway.
Yes.
So why am I applying? It's you know, I was born in the UK, but all of my life has really been, or my working life anyway, has been with an American companies, and Nantucket has been part of my life since the early 80s. I used to come pretty well every year with my 3 daughters, and after I left the corporate world in 2006, and I bought my first home here, came up and back probably 6 to 8 months a year up until 2014. And then at that point, I pretty well lived here full time. So this is my home. This is where I, you know, like I said, my kids. This is my home. I think I have the skills to help on the board. You know, I had a fairly lengthy career with a Fortune 500 company, building businesses all over the world. So, you know, planning and economic development were sort of my world all the time. I was in a corporate sort of environment, and then I went off and started my own businesses since then. And for sure, when it's your own money, you learn pretty quick that you better pay attention to, you know, really good planning and have a good plan as to where it's all going to go. So I finally retired about 3 years ago, and I was living full time on the island. And I live in Monomoy, and I was asked to join the Monomoy Civic Association. And that's really been the major focus for me over the last 3 years. I always need to be doing something, and this turned out to be quite a bit of work to do with the Monomoy Civic Association. I started off the first year as treasurer and overhauled the financial processes and reporting systems. But then about a year ago, we decided that we should develop our own local area plan, the Monomoy area plan. And that's when we first went to Andrew to figure out how could we do this and how should we do it. We got the green light and some good advice as to how we should approach it. And yeah, that sort of turned out to be a full-time job for me for the last 12 months. And, you know, so that's where I'll take the rest of my time, if I might, Mr. Chairman, because there's 3 things about that. You know, we decided very early on we needed to really reach out to the community and understand what all of our members felt, what was important to them. So we developed a SurveyMonkey survey. We sent it out to all of our, not just all of our members, but all of the residents and even people that weren't full-time residents, but we knew spent time here. So in the end, we got 143 responses from 64 households, and that was a little more than 55% of the community. So we kind of felt good about that, and I spent a lot of time putting that together and making sure we got everything back. I actually led the land use part of the plan, and Andrew already has this now. We submitted it on Friday. So I led that team. Some of you'll know Debbie Nicholson. She was on my team, and we worked really hard to figure out not what we wanted, what did our members want, what was important to them. So at that time, we had 4 or 5 other teams going alongside of us, and then at the end we all came together and we put together then an integrated plan. So there was a lot of collaboration going on between the board, our work group, and the members. There was a lot of collaboration going on between each of the work groups, and it's inclusion is sometimes time consuming, but we ended up with a plan that I know everyone is in agreement with. We presented it to our annual general meeting last weekend. There was a unanimous approval of it. So we forwarded it on to Andrew, and now once we get that back and with the comments, we'll set about the implementation of that. So that's where I've been spending most of my time. I also have a high interest in technology. So we, at the same time as we've been doing that, we've put time into developing a new communication strategy that revolves around building a website, which we didn't have, and an Instagram page for our community, which we didn't have. The website is more for Monomoy residents. The Instagram page will be for us to reach, a broader audience on the island and maybe, past that. So, that is, that's what I've been up to. That 3 years, or the 3 years with the Monomoy Civic Association, sort of showed me what I need to be doing next. And what I want to do next is put my skills to good use to try and, put something back into Nantucket that's my home. I could go on about what I think is important, but Mr. Chairman, if I've used my 2 minutes or so,
Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead.
I'll leave it at that. If not,
All
I have a couple. If
Okay.
not, I'll.
Well, thank you,
Okay.
John. And
Okay.
and just so you know, we said this the last time, and I spoke to you about this too, is we really appreciate your work on the area plan, because that is a big deal for citizen to do that. And we need that. And we did it with all the other ones. There was people active. I gave you a bunch of names from the past, from other parts of the island. So we appreciate that as well. So thank you
It
very
was
much.
a labor of love, Mr. Chairman.
It's
It was
a
a
lot.
labor of love.
It's a lot of work.
it was.
It's harder now than it was in the past. So anyway, so thank you for your words. Up next is Christy, if she's on, wherever she is.
I'm here. I know.
Okay, there you are.
So thank you. I'm Christy Ferrantella. I actually previously was on NPDC as the county commissioner rep for the past 2 years, as I served on the select board from 2019 to 2022. I just stepped down from the select board and still really wanted to be involved, and thought the NPDC was a great way to branch off and bring the expertise that I've had over the past several years to the Planning Commission, and be able to kind of lead these discussions on the future of Nantucket. During my time on the NPDC, we talked a lot about kind of our IT infrastructure and municipal broadband, our area plans, and kind of what economic development might mean for Nantucket. From 2018 to 2020, I was part of the Nantucket Chamber of Commerce and was their president and CEO. And during that time, when the pandemic hit, I really got to work with the NPDC, with Wendy, with all the businesses on the island, and really start to look at kind of how we can look at Nantucket and the frame of economic development, and not just, tourism is always going to be a big thing and how we bring people here, but how do we also pivot in the time of a pandemic, and how do we recover? So a lot of those conversations have been happening, and I think it's really important to continue those conversations as we're planning for the future of Nantucket. So I hope that I'll have your support. I really enjoyed being part of this commission the past couple of years, and would love to continue the work that we've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy, very much. Emmy, are you on?
I
You
am.
over there?
Can you hear me?
Megan? There you go. There you are. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfectly.
Okay, great. I also have a house filled with noise and whatnot, so I'm down in the basement.
I
anyway,
tried
my
that
name-
last month.
Yeah, my name is Emmy Kilvert. I'm going to try not to be repetitive, as I just applied for the vacancy on the planning board, and many of you have heard about my background. I've applied for this seat because I care about the future of Nantucket. I've lived in Nantucket both as a seasonal and year-round resident for 58 years. I am just going to go on the assumption that you read sort of the information I sent in about what I think is my relevant experience. I'm the owner of a local insurance agency, and I believe I have a thorough understanding of many neighborhoods and, all the complex issues they face. Also, as the owner of a mid-island commercial building with 7 units, including 2 year-round apartments, I have a firsthand knowledge of a lot of parking and traffic issues, unfortunately. I believe all future planning of Nantucket should be evaluated through the lens of growth, pollution, traffic, sustainability, and housing needs. And I would, very much like to be a part of the much needed updating of the master plan for Nantucket. I believe this process should be collaborative and cooperative and include public hearings. I would still like to be a part of this, even if I'm not on this commission. I'm really interested to know how more citizens can participate. And just lastly, at this point in my life, I have the time, the energy, and I believe the experience to offer to the NPNEDC. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Emmy, for being here. So does anyone have any questions for the candidates before we move to a vote through email to Megan?
I just want to thank all 3 candidates for applying.
Yep.
and encourage them to stay involved. Unfortunately, we can only pick one.
And yeah, and that's what I was trying to say to John, and also just anybody that puts the name in. There has to be. We want engagement. We want ideas. We want people to attend these meetings. And there was a time when Mary was sitting there by herself in the audience many times. So as an attendee. So thank you. So we'll take that vote. Megan, you ready for all this? Haven't done this in a while.
Yep. So please just go ahead, send me an email with your selection. I'll wait till I receive from everyone before I go through and tally.
Okay.
Emmy, I wish my basement looked as nice as yours.
I know that was pretty good. Better than mine.
You didn't
Next
see,
year it'll look
you don't
better.
see the rest of it. I found the best corner.
That's what's good about having Wi-Fi throughout your houses now. You can kind of just jump around and find some spot.
Or sit in your car.
Well, that's true, Joe.
I'm supporting our vibrant downtown.
Is there Wi-Fi everywhere now, Christie, downtown, or just in certain spots?
Certain spots.
No, the whole car Wi-Fi thing is amazing. I finally have that off island now too. Jeez, it's amazing.
John, I'm just waiting on yours.
Who's yours? Mine?
No, sorry. I'm just waiting on John's.
Oh, okay. Is Patrick on, Megan? Is he on tonight? Is he on?
Yes, he is.
Okay, great. Is the state on? I didn't see her yet.
Yes,
She
hi,
on?
I'm here.
Okay. Hi, how are you, Raisha? I just wanted to, I
Hi,
forgot
thank
all
you.
about you. Thank you for being here, Raisha.
Okay. So we have Wendy voted for Emmy Kilbert. Barry voted for Christy Ferrantella. Mary voted for Christy Ferrantella. Joe for Christy Ferrantella. Dave for Christy Ferrantella. Nat for Christy Ferrantella. And John for Christy Ferrantella. So Christy, you will be appointed the new at-large member.
Thank you very much for your support.
Welcome back.
I'm looking forward. Thank you.
I think Christy will need to be sworn in, so she's not able to participate as a member in tonight's meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
that's correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for applying. Thank you for caring. Thank you for your input. And we want to hear that
Stay
we
involved.
want continued input.
Involved.
Okay. What you say, Dave? You're in great point.
I said, stay involved, please.
Okay.
Thanks to everybody for your support, and you'll be hearing from me
John,
next year,
John,
for sure.
you have a voice, John, a big one. Okay. Thank you for your hard work on that plan.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks,
But
guys.
it's not over. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So up next, we've continued the officers for till next month due to the confusion of the governor and the extension and so forth. So we felt that that was the best thing to do with that. And we are continuing the contract review committee appointment, capital program, affordable housing trust, bylaw committee, and the rural advisory policy due to having a full board, a full commission, which makes sense. So that's why we've continued those. Am I leaving out anything, Andrew?
Sure.
Excuse me?
Not leaving anything out, no.
Okay, great. Thank you. So up next is the tip adjustment approval. The NRTA. So Patrick, are you there?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a quick administrative item. It's a request from NRTA to move $25,000 from the bus replacement line item to the preventative capital maintenance line item. Essentially, it's just front loading. Instead of buying a new bus, they're going to service the buses that they have. MassDOT's already conditionally approved this, as well as FTA, but it does require a vote from the NP and EDC because it's an adjustment. So you'd need to take a vote to approve that adjustment. Yes, Barry, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm going to cut right to the chase. I'm going to make a motion. We approve the adjustment provided there's no additional comment.
Yep.
I'll second that,
And
Mr.
Ma-
Chairman.
And before we go to the roll call, Megan, is Dawn on now?
Mhm.
I believe
yeah,
Dawn might be on.
I have, for the record, Dawn joined at 5:33.
Okay. And Bert is still not on though, correct, Megan?
That's correct. No
Okay.
Bert.
Okay. Okay, so Barry made the motion, was seconded by Joe. All those in favor, Mary,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
and Wendy. Wherever you are, Wendy. She might be muted somewhere.
I think we lost Wendy, but just we need to get Seth's vote.
Yep. Seth,
Aye.
thank you. Okay, up next, and chair votes aye. Sorry, Megan. Andrew, so those letters, the letters for the federal land access grant, you want to take that?
I'm going to yield the floor to Patrick on those.
Okay. Okay, Patrick, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have two requests for letters of endorsement for NP and EDC to consider. We package these together into one item, but they're two separate requests. They are for federal aid grant applications. The first is for the Federal Land Access Program. We call that FLAP for short frequently. What this program does is it's intended to support access to federally owned or managed land. So in this particular case, talking about Nantucket Wildlife Refuge, and the project itself is a side path or shared use path adjacent to Wawinnet Road. The project has already been awarded two previous FLAP grants, one for $354,000 in 2016 and that was for preliminary design. And then in 2018, we were awarded $1.25 million for construction for a first phase to Pocomo, excuse me. The construction is anticipated to be more than what we currently have committed from the federal government plus our match. And so we're looking to reapply for additional funds. Now, there's only 2.2 million apportioned to Massachusetts. So we're looking in the ballpark of 1 million. Right now, we haven't settled on an actual number because we're still coordinating with FHWA to try to get a better sense of what we can do and what's an appropriate ask for our need. So that's the first letter of endorsement that we're seeking. And the second is for the Safe Streets and Roads for All program. This is a new program under the bipartisan infrastructure legislation. What it does is it basically opens up the opportunity for two different things, either planning or implementation. Planning for basically a safe, basically like a larger comprehensive safety access plan or safety action plan, which would look at all of our roadway segments on the island, look at our intersections and determine which are problematic based on historical trends or based on their type of intersection, like using predictive safety analyses. That's the planning side. And then on the implementation side, if you already have an action plan in place, you've done this before, the legislation was passed, you're able to actually apply it to fund some of these things. Fortunately, Nantucket does not have one in place yet. It's relatively new for most of Massachusetts. So we're applying to develop that safety action plan. We are also partnering with two other regional bodies on this, Martha's Vineyard Commission, as well as Franklin Regional Council of Governments. The rationale for partnering is they share many of the same challenges that we do in terms of roadway safety, peak season, higher volumes, where at the same time there's some less high volumes on our off season, which allows people to drive faster on the roads when there's not a lot of people around. Additionally, they also face the challenge of very constrained roadway widths. So they're really great partners. The way it would work is we would share consultant services, yet each region would still have its own safety action plan separate from the others. So the idea is to pool resources, to use the same consultant and same tools to get three distinct products. And it's sort of a strategy to make our application a little bit more competitive with some of the others in the nation. There will only be about 300 awardees nationally, we anticipate. So that's the second. I'm happy to answer any questions about either two opportunity. And then if you want to as well, you can take a look in your packet, see if there's any wordsmithing you'd like to do, or we could do that offline as well prior to endorsement.
Sounds good, Patrick. Does anyone have any questions for Patrick on this? Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion at this point that we authorize the chair to sign a letter of support for both the Federal Land Access Program grant and the Safe Streets and Roads for All program.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Mary?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Wendy?
Aye.
And Seth?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Patrick, thank you for doing this. Can I just ask you a couple things real quick about this?
Oh, sorry.
Are the consultants ones that you know or have experienced with, and any of them, does this go out to bid, or are there ones that, because a lot of the ones I'll bet you that have come here have probably done work in those other two communities?
So for the two different opportunities, I'll start with the Federal Land Access Program grant for the bike path on Wowinet Road.
Yeah.
That particular case would be managed by the Eastern Federal Lands Division from Federal Highway. And that's mostly because of how it was structured in our previous grants. There might be an opportunity to talk about that again through our MOA, which we're working to sign our memorandum of agreement for how to proceed with those two previous awards. But at this point in time, the way we had initially set up those applications, we had asked Federal Highway to manage those. So they would manage the solicitation and bid process and all that. There for the Safe Streets and Roads for All, the safety action plan, in this particular case, if we were to be awarded, we would work with Franklin and Martha's Vineyard to go through the procurement process. We've been working with them. Right now, it sounds like they prefer Nantucket to be the lead applicant, which means I'll be the staff person to be filing the application as well as doing the procurement process, or the town will be the one doing the procurement process. But we'll be coordinating with them as well in terms of selecting a consultant. And there's a lot of great ones out there that we've worked with on the island in the past. There's also some pre-approved by MassDOT too that we haven't worked with, which, you know, might be well suited for this particular project because of its nature. I mean, it's very much an analysis project. Unfortunately, the first round. The good news is if we are awarded and we finish the safety action plan in the future, we'll be able to go and compete for implementation funds to actually, you know, do what we've planned. So that's exciting. But in the preliminary phases, we'll be looking at sort of a more high level analysis sort of thing.
That's good. Appreciate it, Patrick. That's good that you've been working with these. I mean, I didn't know about this. This is a good idea. Hopefully we can have some sampling of, you know, roundabouts and other things so we can sort of start over after the pandemic. And after reading about traffic lights in the future in the paper last week, all I could think about was all the roundabout stuff we've done for almost 20 years and only built one.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, thank you, Patrick. Mary, go ahead.
Thank you. Patrick, what would the time frame be for finding out if we get the award and then for completing the plan?
It's about a year till you find out. I'm sorry, the award would be anticipated in the wintertime timeframe. However, it's about a year in order to execute the MOA. So there's a little bit of a gap between when you'd find out that you received the award and the actual agreement being executed. It's just the way federal aid typically works. You can see that sort of happened with our FLAP grant too, right? These projects the awards are a couple years old now, and we're now getting to the point where we're ready to execute the agreement. So unfortunately, sometimes it can take a little bit of time. The flip side is with this Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, there seems to be an uptick in the tempo of the federal government for the issuance of funds and execution of agreements associated with the bipartisan infrastructure legislation. And I think that the idea is they really want to move these forward quickly so we can, see the fruits of our labor in terms of that particular piece of legislation. So that's good. But, realistically, you're talking about maybe about a year and a half out before we'd start really doing the nuts and bolts of the work on this effort.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't go
Jack,
anywhere.
very much. Yeah, you seem to have a good handle on all the complicated stuff, which is what we need, because that is where it's just impossible to deal with that to someone that doesn't know. So thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions for Patrick before we move on to other business? Barry? Oh, you had your hand there real quick, sorry. Okay, is anyone else I can't see? Megan?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead. John, go ahead.
Just a question for Patrick with the, when you look to get a number of you were talking about $1 million, and if you're looking at a year and a half from now, do you anticipate the escalation of inflation and what costs might be historically over the last 1, 5, 10 years? So you amortize it for the year and a half, so your application is actually more than what would be presently needed?
It's a good question. Yes, costs have escalated, and I expect they will continue to escalate in terms of how much we're asking for, in particular for that FLAP grant. That there's sort of a limit. That 2.2 million that's been apportioned to the state is sort of a ceiling, right? We cannot ask for more than 2.2 million. And realistically, the way that typically these things are funded, there would be a strong hesitance to giving a full blob of funding apportionment to one region. So it's more likely that if we are awarded, we'll also be awarded with a couple other regions or even municipalities that are allowed to apply for this as well. So the chunk of change that I think we'll be looking for in this particular pot will be around $1 million. That should help with the project in terms of phasing it. I do not believe that the funds alone from federal aid will be enough to take us to, the gatehouse, between Pulpus and the gatehouse. I know previously when in 2018, my predecessor, Mike, applied for funds to support this project. He had a great idea to phase it, to break it up, because typically the federal government only wants to fund something that they can see as like a complete phase, if you will. And so the idea was to get from Pulpus to Pocomo. We had looked at in the cycle that we're in right now, we had looked at trying to extend that to Squam Brook to just try to get a little bit more. But based on conversations with Federal Highway, my sense is that it's probably not realistic to ask for more than $1 million, $1.25 million or so. One nice thing that's different from our previous FLAP awards in this particular round is that the program was an 80-20 program previously, which means that the town was responsible for a 20% match. Because of the new bipartisan infrastructure legislation, the program was actually amended and no match is required in this round. So it's just, if we're awarded, we don't have to commit anything on our end beyond what was already committed. So hopefully we'll be able to get enough that we'll be able to get up to Pocomo. The other thing I should mention too here is that no engineering estimate has been done for the project yet. Everything that Mike Burns did previously, and all the work that I'm looking at now, it's all conceptual based on unit costs that we have from contractors who are doing work in the area today. And there have been sort of tack-ons and escalations in terms of what we've used. I actually looked at a project earlier in a different location where they provided a really detailed breakout of how costs for each product, like gravel, asphalt, things like that have escalated, but that is accounted for in our concept level estimates. I will tell you right now, I'm thinking that the project in full will cost 4.85 million. That's not an engineering estimate. That's a high level planning estimate. But hopefully once the project is executed, with the MOA done, we'll be able to jump into the design and have a good design estimate pretty quickly.
And one final question, Patrick. Is there any thing that would prevent us from mixing grants and adding grants to this, and with the addition of maybe public funding, as we've done in previous bike paths, Humming Pond Road, or out to Cisco being one in particular?
There's not actually. It's advantageous if you show that you as a municipality or a region have skin in the game. That actually makes your project look more desirable to fund, because it shows there's a will to move the project forward. And that's for these larger projects, it's typically how we have to do things. So sometimes you'll see more than one federal aid program funding a project. Now, typically there's a cap on how much federal aid can be used to push a project forward. And if there's an 80-20 program in the mix, in this particular case, it would probably be no more than 80% of the project could be funded by federal aid. It's a little funky. We'd have to work with FHWA on it, because that match requirement has since been removed. So it's a little nebulous about what it would mean, but at some point we will have to certainly throw in money to make this move forward.
And finally, I'm sorry, I keep on thinking of something else, but commercial businesses like the Womanet Inn or Toppers, looking at that path going to Womanet, there's a lot of bikers, travelers, whatever, from the safety aspect of it, and also great point in the preservation out there. Are we, you can have commercial businesses and government nonprofits that are able to contribute to this also?
You would be able to. I think we have actually been approached by a couple folks who are interested in sort of doing some fundraising already, which is excellent. That's always a great thing. And it's nice to know that there are champions out there who live or have a business along the roadway who want to see this move forward. I think where we're at right now is trying to push the tempo with Federal Highway to really get this memorandum of agreement executed, so that way we can move forward into the design process to get a better understanding of how much it's really going to cost. So that way people have sort of a target. It can be challenging to fundraise when you don't actually have a good sense of what the cost is going to be. And also, if you don't have a good sense of what the general design concept will be. I mean, for this particular project, we know it's probably going to be on the east side of the roadway because of where the utilities are. But other than that, particularly in the conservation lands, there could be some differences of alignments that could be explored throughout the process. So it's a lot easier to kind of have people feel comfortable about committing to something once they know what they're committing to.
Thank you, Patrick. Nicely done.
Very good. This is good stuff, Patrick. Thank you.
Mhm.
Does anyone else have anything to ask? Otherwise, we'll move on to other business. A couple of things. If anyone has anything, committee reports, things to add. I've got a couple things, but go ahead, Barry.
No, I'll let you go first, Nat, but I just do want, I've got like two things I want to talk about as well. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so even though it's not something that we usually talk about, I like to give my little steamship updates here and there when I get the chance. I sent a link to Megan to send out about the analysis of the hybrid propulsion analysis that the steamship just had done by a company in Seattle that designed two of the last two boats. And it's pretty good. And I think it really sort of explains a lot. And I think you guys would be interested in it because you hear, I mean, all these letters that keep pouring in from Falmouth and Woods Hole and, why aren't we going electric? Why aren't we doing this? Like it just snap a finger. And actually this report is pretty good. And I think sometimes people forget that these boats have to come to Nantucket as well as the vineyard, except for two. So, there's a little more involved. So it's pretty good read. Things are going pretty well right now with the boats. Hasn't been any major issues, except for one freight boat issue that happened recently, but it's getting resolved. But otherwise, things are working well. Hopefully, it works good for the rest of the summer and gets us through. I'd like to also make an announcement that I will not be seeking the chair position next month. And it's time for me to sort of step back a little bit. And, so I want to thank everybody, past, present, for supporting me for the last, how many years, Andrew? I actually forgot how many it's been. But we've been through a lot. A lot of people have come and gone. A lot of people have passed away besides Jack, which is something that's, you kind of forget that sometimes. Judith and Sylvia. I miss Judith. I thought a lot about her the other day at Jack's funeral. Her input and our relationship was amazing in a short amount of time. How things grew with her, and over the years, talking to someone like Jack, asking questions about things, zoning, the Kennedy bill, all those things he knew about, the tip of his tongue. It's amazing. And that kind of information just doesn't happen. That, there's only a couple of people left that know these things now, besides Andrew, of course. So I just wanted you to all know this, and thank you all for your support. Barry, do you want to go ahead next?
Yeah, thanks. I actually have two things that I want to bring up. The first thing is that I know last meeting we reconstituted the the BPAC committee, and I just want to find out when their first meeting is and what the reporting cycle is to us, because I think there's maybe some things that we should be chatting about with the BPAC committee so that we're kind of all aligned on the same page. So I don't necessarily have an answer to that, but maybe through you, Andrew, and it doesn't necessarily have to be right, maybe within the next month we can begin to figure out when we can have the opportunity for the two of us to work together with each other. So that'll be my first thing. And if we're good.
Okay. Yep.
So,
and
go ahead.
Just real quick, Barry, on that. I think Patrick is working with, is going to be, dealing with that as well, like Mike was. Is that correct, Patrick?
Okay.
It is, yes.
Getting you up to speed. Okay.
Yeah, I just think as a commission who's putting a committee together, it's good that we synchronize with each other about what's going on, what their thoughts, maybe some additional comments that we may have for them as well too. So I'm going to urge that before they get too far underway, that again, we try to get together and just have a little meeting of the minds to be able to do that. And so, sooner the better, but like anything, it's going to take time, especially around this time of year. Let me know when I can get on to stage 2 here.
Go ahead, Barry.
All right, so thank you. So the second thing I want to talk about is just kind of an understanding of where the contracts are, both with the director and the deputy director. Those seem like they've been hanging out there for a while. I know that for the director, that's been hanging out there since roughly about February. And I believe for the deputy director, I'm hearing a little bit to my chagrin that that's actually been longer. So I want a little bit of a status update on it, but more importantly, I think for this commission, it's important to understand that these people are waiting for these to be done for a number of different reasons. So the second part of this becomes, when are we going to expect this to happen? This can't just be silently dragging along. So I don't know if Andrew wants to comment a little further on it or whether you've got something, Nat, but like I said, it's first of all, let's understand where we're at. But second of all, most importantly, as a commission, we kind of need to move this process forward because it's, in my book, it's kind of radically unfair to both parties here, since they are working for and with us. Anyways.
Andrew, we sent the last meeting, we sent that paperwork in, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you executed both of the personnel action forms, and I know that, at this time of the year, the town is doing their year-end closing and other things. So, but we can certainly advise you where we stand at the next meeting, but hopefully those matters will be wrapped up by then.
Mhm.
Okay. Mary, you got your hand up? Oh, Seth, is that your hand, Seth? Or is that
That's his.
I'm sorry,
It's
Seth.
mine, but let Mary
This
go
is a
first.
a little lighter color. I didn't really see it. Sorry.
Let Mary go first.
Okay, go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, two items. One, following up on Barry's comment about the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. We appointed 6 members. I'm not sure if there's intended to be a seat for an NP and EDC representative to make that 7.
Yep.
But if there is, then we should probably add that to the list of appointments for the next meeting. I don't see it on
Yep.
tonight's agenda. That's one item.
It's done.
Okay.
Mary's picking up on everything. She's right.
Not always, but
Yeah.
thank you. So the second item, the town area plan work group has continued to meet, and we have compiled a list of questions for a survey. So I will be bringing that list to the planning department for comment, and we hope to get that survey out in August. So that's the progress update there.
Andrew, can I just ask through you back to Mary on this? Andrew, have the boundaries been established on the town area plan? We haven't talked about this in a few months. And I've kind of forgotten. Remember?
That's job 1 that we do right at the start. So that was.
Okay, so
voted
that's still
on.
out there. Okay.
That's already been voted. And yeah.
Okay, very good. Because that was, I know that's a big question at the beginning. Okay, Seth, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And also in line with Barry's comments about BPAC. I don't know if this would be within their charge, our charge, potentially both, or maybe it's at a town staff level, but over the last year, I've noticed what I would consider a pretty significant proliferation of micro mobility devices, e-bikes, scooters, hoverboards. And from a sustainability perspective, especially as somebody who studies sustainability at the graduate level, I love to see that. But it's come to my attention that our town bylaws have some prohibitions on those uses. And also there's clearly some outgoing or ongoing transportation safety concerns with some of those devices. I think it needs to get on somebody's agenda to talk about how as a town, we're gonna better support micromobility, but in a way that's safe and regulatorily permitted.
Patrick, you got anything to add to what Seth just said? Because I don't want to take that one because I'll talk too long and the meeting will go on for another hour. So have you looked at any of this stuff? Because this is in your wheelhouse now, and there is a lot of odd things with mopeds, size of engines versus motors. Now we have, electric mopeds. We have, in theory, I saw 2 today right in front of Andrew's window, up from his window. And, that's a really good point Seth's bringing up, because we have a lot of outdated stuff, and this could be something to talk to the police chief about, traffic safety, Art, Erica, whatever. That's a good topic, because the things are everywhere. Forget about the safety aspect is really the big one, but as far as some of that cleanup stuff in our bylaws, that is definitely a good idea to look at. Or for BPAC or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an excellent suggestion. I appreciate both of you. Seth, you bringing it forward, and Mr. Chair, you recommending we bring it to BPAC. We'll be developing the agenda for BPAC's first meeting. Right now, I can tell you all it's tentatively scheduled for Wednesday. I believe the date is 27th at 3:30. So coming up quick. So an agenda should be posted pretty soon, but we can put this on the agenda as an item to kind of see what BPAC wants to do and how they want to structure themselves and what their main work program will look like. And then I can certainly report back and look forward to having discussions next month with you all about the appointee from NP and EDC to BPAC.
Excellent. Seth, go ahead if you have a follow-up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Mr. Reed. I appreciate that. And in particular, I think it's important to, if you look at the town of Nantucket bylaws, to look at Chapter 98, which refers to motorized passenger devices, because there's language in there that actually expressly prohibits a lot of the uses that I see on a daily basis that I think those bylaws might be outdated at this point.
If I can add another comment to that discussion, I think it would be wise to review all of the town's regulations regarding bicycles and potentially other small motorized transportation devices. I know that one of the things that's still on the town's books is the requirement that bicycles have license plates, so metal plates, and we haven't done that in decades. We're using stickers now. So I think there'd probably be a few other things in there that are decades old and could be updated.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. Seth, thank you very much for bringing this up. It's definitely a hot issue right now, especially when you're not looking and one zips in front of you and you don't even expect it to happen. We definitely need to have these things sort of codified or accepted or whatever the proper word is, but they're not going anywhere and they shouldn't. They should be encouraged. But our roads and little edges and potholey stuff and sidewalky issues, I get nervous for people with those ones that, what are those things called with the skateboard with the fat tire in the middle? What is that called?
Scooter.
Those things look like they look like they go to great.
One wheel.
The one wheel.
Those things are unbelievable. So anyway,
Mr. Chair.
Who else has got something? Go ahead, John. I see you.
Yeah, no, it's just where we're on bike paths and things, and now with the addition of all these electric bikes, I don't know if this has ever been discussed in the past, and maybe it has, and there are reasonings why. But are our bike paths wide enough to draw a line in the middle? I know in other communities, cities, Europe, they have a bike path that we'll call it 6 or 8 feet wide. There's a line kind of dotted every now and then, and on the one side it says bikes, and on the other side it has pedestrian walkways. So it gives a little bit more indication of when you're walking, you kind of hover to one side so you keep the lane open for bikes. And obviously when you have bikes coming in different directions, you have to cross over. It's not a mandatory stay to one side. But has that ever been discussed? Or maybe it has been, maybe the size of our bike paths are too small to allow that, or narrow to allow that?
Well, 10 feet's the new width, right, Patrick?
I can tell you that our bike paths are wide enough to have a stripe. There's no question about that. I mean, 10 feet is the minimum requirement under AASHTO that we've been building for some time. I will say that there has been resistance to striping the bike paths historically. Many times that has been deleted from final contracts for aesthetic or other reasons. So it's also, they have not been maintained. In some instances on Pulpus, there are sections where there's a midline stripe, but it is, I think, pretty much faded. So I think in most designs they are recommended, but like I said, we have been eliminating them for some time.
Yeah. And also, wherever Patrick went, I think we had, I mean, the list of bike paths that are 10 feet versus 8 is pretty significant, easy to figure out. They did attempt far as I know, there was a plan to widen the Sconset, but then they found out that when they did that project, that it would require all this engineering for 2 feet of pavement, which is just unfortunate, but that should have happened numerous times. But Pulpus is 8 feet. I know that it's not 10, but the newest ones are 10.
Fairgrounds, Old South are all 10.
Yep, and that little piece of Eel Point, I believe, is 10 as well.
Yes.
The first section. Okay. Well, that's a good conversation. Does anybody have anything else? Our next meeting is going to be. Oh, go ahead, Joe. You got something?
Yeah, I just
Oh, I'm
think most of
sorry,
the
yeah,
problem
yeah,
on the
yeah.
bike path is, you're doing 15 miles an hour, whatever, you're riding, at say max speed of 15, but these battery powered e-bikes, et cetera, are coming by you at 30 and there's no notifications, no bell, there's no even ski
Noise.
etiquette. I'm on your left or whatever. So I think that's the major problem. And if you don't know that's happening, you swerve or something, that I see some major accident coming. So really not quite sure how to do that. I don't know if widening the bike path really helps. But I do think in some key areas you could put a slight stripe somewhere, but most people know to stay to one side. But if someone's coming up behind it, it's communication mostly. So thank you.
That's a good point. Yep. Okay, next meeting is on the 22nd. Does anyone have any other questions or statements or anything? We'll miss Jack, I can tell you that, and not just here. So I guess that's it. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Mary,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Don,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
and Seth.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Seth, for being here. Thank you all. Take care, everyone.
Welcome, Seth.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See
Thanks,
ya.
Joe. Have a
you.
good night.
Bye.
Okay, take care. Okay.